So I haven't talked at all about this woodworking project that I've been doing. This is the headboard for a queen size bed that I'm making for my mom. And it's pretty big. It's 5 feet tall, and of course it's the width of a queen size bed. It's currently laying on its side. The uprights and the horizontals are both oak, and all the slats in between are mahogany. This is all wood I had. I had no idea how beautiful this piece of this big piece of oak is. This is a red oak. It's flamed. This was originally 8 inches wide. It was almost this full thickness. I've only just surface finished it. I didn't really cut it down. It was also 8 feet tall, and so the footboard was also cut from this. And effectively, I had taken these 4 pieces, cut this big 8 foot long piece, cut 3 feet and 5 feet out of it, then split it, and was able to basically explode the 4 legs. So it's almost like I have effectively split all 4 legs into their respective corners from the the original wood orientation. All of the I have spares of the actual mahogany slats. This is the size of the slat for the footboard, and this is the size of the slats on this headboard. These are 18, these are 36. So the real tricky thing about this is there's 36 pieces of mahogany in the header and the footer, and the lengths have to match extremely precisely from shoulder to shoulder, because otherwise these pieces won't fit in here and they won't be tight. Even this spare piece is pretty good here, and there's just a slight gap, and then this is all just mortise and tenon together, and I haven't glued this together yet. In fact, I need to take it apart tonight and do the final glue up on it, and come on. So one of the things I had done with these mortise and tenon joints is I had left these tenons long, high and low, on the high side of the upper and the low side of the lower. That way I could size them when I went to actually put this together, and shave them down so that they pulled the top and bottom rails tight. So now when it goes together, it actually pulls this in snug. They're actually even slanted slightly so that they lock the upper and lower horizontal rails together. So 72 of these dowels, 36 in the head and 36 in the footer, and that means I have 144 mortise and tenon joints in here, and plus these. So total I have 152 mortise and tenon joints and 80 pieces of wood. So it's not super complicated in terms of its joinery or anything, but it required a level of precision that I've never attempted before. So I spent a lot of time. Actually, these are reclaimed mahogany, and so it was old. It had been outside a lot, and so the grain on these would lift. Let's see if I can get in here. I don't have a lot of light back in here, but the grain on these pieces of mahogany is. Let's see if the flashlight will be of any help. So the grain on these pieces of mahogany would split on these edges, and I would have to fix it by gluing the corners back down, and then wait for the glue to dry, and then resurface it. So the mahogany pieces were all just sanded. Mahogany's pretty soft, and so they were all just sanded down to 100 grit garnet paper. But all the surfaces of all the oak was all finished with card scraper. So I didn't use any sandpaper on it. So it has a very, very precise finish on it. The one thing that I can't really show, unfortunately, here I'll get some stills of this. I'll do some pickup. So if you look at these areas in the wood where there were these either knots or cracks in the wood, I filled them with a combination of ebony that I just ground down with a file and super glue. And then I resurfaced them with a little bit of sandpaper and finally with a cabinet scraper. And the powdered wood in with the super glue will accept the finish no differently than a regular wood surface will. And this black came out really flat and really shiny. And it looks like it was part of that. That was a trick I had learned from Ben Crow of Crimson Guitars, watching him do inlay work. When I realized that I had this really beautiful piece of wood, but I wanted to, it had these cracks and voids in it, I really wanted to use it. So I ended up doing a lot of fill work on that, but it came out really, really nice. All right, so it's a little bit of a look at this project. I have no idea how many hours I've had in it. This is May the 19th that I'm recording this, and I started this in October of 2017. So it's May 2018. So it's been, off and on about 7 months that I've been working on this project. This is for my mom, who is moving into a new house here in just a couple of weeks. I've kind of been racing them getting the house finished so that this will be ready when the house is done. The other thing I would say is about the hardware. I bought these really nice mechanisms for locking the side rails in. And normally these would get top mounted, but I decided, along with all the other work that I did, that I was actually going to inset them. I ended up having to buy a new mortiser as I went. As I was in the middle of this, I got almost done, and my old Delta mortiser gave up the ghost, and so I ended up having to upgrade. It was an excuse to buy a much better mortiser, and I went and bought a big Powermatic. It's kind of the Powermatic is kind of the biggest pro-consumer level mortiser before you get into basically $1,200 floor-mounted unit. And I almost just pulled the trigger on one of them, because when I want to do mortises, I'm doing big mortises and tenons like this, deep ones in oak, and I just want the power. But it turned out that the Powermatic works really great. I would give it definitely a 2 thumbs up. So anyhow, I think that's about all. Just wanted to put up a little video talking about this. If anybody has any questions, post them in the comments, and I'll get back to you. I'll either make a video about it if you had a particular question about this, or if you had another woodworking question, maybe I can answer it just in text. All right, thanks a lot. Take care.